Thought and Imagination by Jerome A. Anderson, read by Dave Marsland of Cardiff Theosophical Society. Thought and Imagination. Opposition is the law of differentiation, or rather, the means by which differentiation is accomplished. No force can be exerted except it be opposed by a counterforce. The two may be disparate, the one yield to and be replaced by the other, but opposition of some degree is absolutely essential in the exhibition of energy. This being so, and its truth is self-evident, it follows that the manifestations of the faculties of the soul will tend to duality. There will be in each enough differentiation to afford the necessary basis for its activity. It may undoubtedly happen that one faculty finds the necessary opposing force at times in other faculties, as when reason opposes desire. But this outer opposition is not essential. Each faculty will be found to fall naturally into two great divisions which oppose each other sufficiently to afford the necessary energies to enable both portions to manifest and develop. Thought is no exception. In the cosmos itself, primordial thought divides into absolute wisdom, or the knowledge of worlds to be, and creative imagination, or the power to clothe those primal ideas in form. In the microcosm, or man, there is an exact parallel. Thought naturally divides itself into two great faculties, reason and imagination. The latter has never been accorded its proper place in the estimate of the faculties of the soul. The sensational school of philosophers deal with it, strange to say, with more fairness and a more acute perception of its importance than any other class. They assign it creative functions, but assert that it can only use materials which have reached the mind through the senses, whence in truth they also derive all the faculties of the soul. They admit that the forms produced by the imagination are new, but not the material. Still, they see that the power to take even old material and work it up into something quite new and unlike the old is unique, and that therefore imagination, while employing memory as its agent in gathering material, is much more than mere memory. It is indeed, few realize the tremendous power exercised in the idlest imaginings. Dream, for example, is a state where reason is notoriously in abeyance, often entirely absent, yet even the most foolish of dreams reproduce landscapes, persons, conversations, and so on, with a wealth of matter, and an accuracy of detail which is marvellous if philosophically examined. Memory may, and does, furnish much of the material for these idle visions, but this is simply because the soul is delighted with its sensuous existence, or with portions of it at least, and deliberately reconstructs these by the magic power of its truly creative faculty. If it be discontented with its environments of any kind, physical, mental, or moral, it will quickly discard or reject these, and construct for itself others brighter and better in which memory has little or no part. This universe is but the imagination of God. Whatever part be played by reason in its beginnings, imagination is the mighty agent which carves out every detail. And we can easily see that reason, such as we know, could well be absent from a process supervised by absolute wisdom. Imagination is a genie at whose touch form appears. It is the opposite pole of thought, for thought and imagination are but the positive and negative aspects of one and the same thing. Thought deals with externals, imagination with interior things. Of course, reason also deals with internal things, as does imagination with externals, but this is not the method ordinarily employed. Imagination, in truth, is slowly changing the whole earth, and especially man himself, but molecular matter is unwieldy and needs a more powerful imagination than that of man to bring about speedy change. But we have every reason for supposing that these finer states of matter are more easily affected. Indeed, there is no other way of accounting for the forms we see in dreams except to suppose them to have actually leaped into being, full panoplied, in response to our imagination, and to be constructed out of matter in these rarer conditions. They persist only so long as our feeble wills hold them intact, even as the very universes will persist just so long as the mighty creative will of their cosmic autores holds the idea of them clearly in its imagination, when they too will fade away like the vagaries of the departing dream. The written upon the tablets of the brain theory has long since been abandoned by thoughtful sensationalists or materialists, for they recognise the insuperable mechanical difficulties which beset such an explanation. Idle dreams, and equally idle fantasies in waking, are but the moods of a childish giant. They presage the power which will be exerted when the giant realises his strength and exerts it intelligently. Another thing to be remembered, and which will have a most important bearing upon the course of our future argument, is that the imagination is a subjective faculty of the soul par excellence. Reason is its objective faculty, for it is so universally exercised upon external phenomena that it can scarcely be said to act interiorly, in the true sense of the term. But with imagination it is different. Its first step is to retire within. It cannot be exercised while the mind is occupied with externals. For it, no exterior universe is required except to furnish material for its inner activity. In sleeping or waking, in night dreaming or day, the external universe is unnecessary. It creates its own worlds and people them with its own beloved, utterly indifferent as to whether external universes exist or not. Reason represents the working phase of existence. Imagination its opposite or rest, and both are equally necessary to a happy existence. The law of cycles, of alternating activity and resting, is seen throughout all nature. Ever the night follows the day. Ever are the tired faculties of activity recuperated by the grateful cessation from toil. It is a law of life. It is but another example of those pairs of opposites by which manifestation is accomplished, and through which existence wends its blissful way. There will never be that total cessation from toil which Western religions teach, nor is there warrant for this in all nature. Work then rest is the command of nature, and it has been recognized, if but dimly, by every people who have set one day apart as sacred from toil. Imagination is a most perfect means of resting, for rest in its true sense is but a change of occupation, inasmuch as it is above all limitations of time. When one retires into the recesses for pleasure, he cares not whether past, present or future be the subject matter for its creations. Naturally, the young choose the future. Equally naturally, the old prefer to live in the past. When one sits down to rest in the fictions of today, does he not enter with an equal zest into the lives and loves of the antediluvians, the old Greeks and Romans, the ancient Britons, as with the fates of those of the present? One rather prefers, if there be any choice, that a time be selected by the novelist which enables him to complete the picture presented, thus leaving no element of happiness to the uncertainty of the future. For uncertainty is the minor chord of our human existence, both actually and musically. The real difference between minor and major music is unexplainable by the senses of music alone, but psychophysiology comes to its aid, and shows that the difference consists wholly in the sense of incompleteness and uncertainty which causes the feeling of sadness, and that this is due to the relation of the key tone to the overtones. In major music this is evident, and both harmony and melody return to it as a base of support clearly defined and evident to the most untrained ear. In minor music this relation is concealed by the position of the keynote, which is neither prominent nor dominant. Therefore there runs through it all a sense of incompleteness and uncertainty, which causes the soul to feel that melancholy which must always attend it so long as it wanders in doubt and uncertainty. It may be, and is, sweet, for it is buoyed by hope, but throughout is the wall of Demeter and Persephone, and the imagination is not bound to the rock of reality, as is reason. And the imagination is not bound to the rock of reality, as is reason. There need be no incompleteness nor uncertainty to its creations. Throughout the days of life, one must toil with imperfection, both within and without. During sleep and death is restored the perfect and the unconditioned. Else would the heart get hardened and the hands grow weary, holding them up for their heritage. Excepting moments of sensuous enjoyment, the only rest the soul knows in waking life is found in the imagination. It constitutes the sole rest of the child who has not learned to live in the sensuous, and whose happy imaginings are but the fast disappearing vestiges of its blissful life beyond the grave. The boy soldier gets more true pleasure in the mock drill and the ragged attempt to imitate the uniform than the real soldier does in all the glory of the actual battle. The child is yet living in its imagination, and the adult turns lovingly to the same source of happiness until he is taught by a false philosophy of life to seek happiness in the fleeting and equally unreal pleasures of sensuous enjoyment.